Marina was a beautiful young woman who lived in the foothill of the mountains. She had long, flowing black hair and sparkling green eyes that captivated all who saw her. But she had a curse. Each night, Marina would transform into an old, haggard crone. Her youthful beauty would vanish, leaving her elderly and feeble. She deceived a king with her beauty until she was caught, ready to be burnt at a stake for deceiving a king. However, a werewolf named Lord Gregory saved Marina from the stake and again from an old cottage when Marina decided to move on with her life. With the king's constant torment and Marina living a life of hide and seek, she finally decided to follow Lord Gregory into the forest for safety and also to find love again. Now Marina and Gregory are in the forest, but the drama had just begun. As Marina and Lord Gregory caught their breath in the forest clearing, their eyes met. In that moment, they knew they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. "Marry me," Lord Gregory said softly, taking Marina's hands in his. "Here now, in this forest that has sheltered us." Marina's heart soared. "Yes," she whispered, tears of joy welling in her eyes. They began to gather wildflowers for a makeshift bouquet and searched for a suitable spot to exchange their vows. But their happy preparations were suddenly interrupted by the sound of heavy footsteps and low growls. From the shadows of the trees emerged a pack of enormous wolves, their eyes glowing like light. Before Marina and Gregory could react, the wolves transformed into human form, a troop of muscular, battle-scarred men and women clad in tattered royal garments. Their leader, a grizzled man with a silver crown, stepped forward. "Lord Gregory," he said, his voice a low rumble, "we've been searching for you. Our kingdom needs its rightful heir to take the throne." Gregory stood protectively in front of Marina. "I left that life behind long ago," he said firmly. The werewolf king's gaze shifted to Marina, and his eyes widened in shock and fury. "You," he snarled, "you bear the curse of the witch who destroyed our realm?" Marina recoiled, confused and frightened. "I don't know what you're talking about," she protested. The werewolf king advanced angrily. "Your mother was a powerful sorceress who used her shape-shifting abilities to once destroy our kingdom. She sowed chaos, turned our people against each other, and ultimately killed our great leader, my father. We've been scattered and leaderless ever since." Marina's mind reeled. Could it be true? Was her curse inherited from a mother she'd never known? Gregory interposed himself between Marina and the angry werewolves. "Whatever her mother may have done, Marina is innocent. She's struggled with this curse her entire life." The werewolf king's eyes narrowed. "Be that as it may, we cannot risk history repeating itself. Step aside, Lord Gregory. Take your place as our king, and we will dispose of this threat to our people." Gregory stood his ground. "I will do no such thing. Marina is to be my wife, and I'll defend her with my life, if I must." The tension in the clearing was palpable as the werewolves tensed, ready to attack. Marina's heart raced. She couldn't bear the thought of Gregory coming to harm because of her. In that moment of desperation, she felt something stir within her, an ancient power awakening inside her. Without fully understanding how, Marina raised her hands and a burst of blinding light emanated from her palms. The werewolves recoiled, shielding their eyes. When the light faded, Marina stood transformed, not into an old crone, but into a majestic, ethereal being that radiated power and wisdom. "Enough," she said, her voice with authority. "I am not my mother, nor am I your enemy. I've spent my life fearing this power, but now I see it was meant to heal, not harm." The werewolves stared in awe as Marina approached their leader. She placed a hand on his brow, and a warm glow enveloped him. The anger and pain melted from his features. "Your kingdom fell not because of my mother's actions alone, but because of the fear and mistrust that divided your people," Marina said gently. "You don't need a king to rule you. You need to rebuild the trust and unity you once had." As Marina's words echoed through the clearing, a sudden gust of wind swayed through the trees. The werewolves were tensed, their eyes darting around. From the shadows stepped a tall, lithe figure, a woman with flowing silver hair and eyes that glowed with power. "So," the newcomer's voice rang out, clear and cold as a mountain stream, The daughter of Lyra dares to preach about trust and unity. Marina felt a chill run down her spine. This woman radiated power similar to her own, but darker, more volatile. The werewolves parted as she strode forward, her gaze fixed on Marina. "I am Seline," she announced, her lips curving into a cruel smile. "Your mother's sister, and the one who truly understands the power you wield." Gregory moved to stand beside Marina, his hand finding hers. "Marina is not like her mother," he said firmly. Seline laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Oh, but she is. That power running through her veins, it's the same that brought your kingdom to its knees. And now..." Her eyes glittered dangerously. "I'll show you how it's truly meant to be used." With a flick of her wrist, Seline sent a bolt of crackling energy towards Marina. Instinctively, Marina raised her free hand, deflecting the attack in a shower of sparks. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. "Stop this," Marina pleaded. "There's been enough pain and destruction." But Seline was beyond reason. She began to change, her form shifting and growing until a massive silver wolf stood in her place, with fangs ready to attack. Marina felt the power within her surge in response. Against her will, she too began to transform. But instead of the old crone she feared, she found herself becoming a creature of light, part woman, part a celestial being. The werewolves and Gregory watched in awe as the two powerful beings faced off. Seline attacked, extending her claws, while Marina raised her hands, light radiating between her palms. The clash of their powers lit up the forest like daybreak. Trees groaned and the earth trembled beneath their feet. Marina struggled to control the raw energy flowing through her, while Seline attacked with fury. "You can't run from what you are," Seline snarled between attacks. "Embrace the chaos, the destruction. It's in your blood." Marina faltered, doubt creeping into her heart. What if Seline was right? What if she was destined to bring only ruin? "Marina!" Gregory's voice cut through her fears. "Your power comes from love, not hate. Remember who you are." His words stirred something deep within her. Marina took a deep breath, centering herself. She thought of the life she and Gregory dreamed of the healing she longed to bring. As Seline charged for another attack, Marina stood her ground. She raised her hands not to strike, but to welcome. "I am not my mother," she said softly. "And I'm not you. I choose a different path." A wave of pure, warm light erupted from Marina, washing over Seline and the entire clearing. The werewolves gasped as they felt an ancient weight lift from their shoulders. Seline howled, caught in the beam of light, her form flickering between wolf and woman. The forest held its breath, waiting to see which path would be chosen, which fate would unfold. As Marina's wave of light washed over the clearing, its effects were not as immediate or profound as she had hoped. Seline stumbled back, momentarily stunned, but quickly regained her footing. The werewolves shifted uneasily, caught between awe and suspicion. Marina fell to the floor as her power grew weak. Gregory rushed to support her. "This isn't over," Seline snarled, her form still fluctuating between wolf and woman. "You may have your mother's power, but you lack her conviction. You're weak, Marina, and weakness has no place in our world." The werewolf king stepped forward, his expression torn. We need time to process this," he said, looking from Marina to Seline and back again. "Our people have suffered too much to rush into another conflict." Seline's eyes flashed dangerously, but she didn't argue. Instead, she addressed the werewolves. "Think carefully about where your loyalties lie. The old ways made us strong. This girl and her soft-hearted ideas will be our downfall." With that, Seline darted into the forest. The werewolf king turned to Gregory and Marina. "We will withdraw for now," he said gravely. "But make no mistake, this is far from settled. We'll be watching, waiting to see what path you choose." As the werewolves began to disperse, Gregory gently led Marina away from the clearing. Once they were alone, he cupped her face in his hands. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. Marina nodded, though her eyes were filled with uncertainty. "I don't understand what's happening to me, Gregory. This power, I can feel it, but I can't control it. What if Seline is right? What if I'm not strong enough?" Gregory's gaze was steady and reassuring. "You are stronger than you know, Marina, but you don't have to face this alone. I think I know someone who can help us understand your abilities better." "Who?" Marina asked, hope kindling in her heart. "There's an ancient woman who lives deep in the mountains," Gregory explained. "She's said to be as old as the forest itself, with knowledge of magic that's been lost to time. If anyone can help you harness your power, it's her." Marina took a deep breath, steeling herself for the journey ahead. "Then that's where we need to go. But Gregory, what about your people? The werewolves need you." Gregory's expression was resolute. "My place is by your side. We'll find a way to bring peace to everyone, but first, we need to understand what we're dealing with." As they prepared to leave the forest, both were acutely aware of the eyes watching them from the shadows. The werewolves, though retreating, were far from gone, and somewhere out there, Seline was plotting her next move. As Marina and Gregory journeyed towards the mountains, the forest around them seemed to pulse with an unseen energy. Marina could feel it clicking with the power inside her, like a distant echo. She tried to focus on it, to channel it as she had in the clearing, but it remained frustratingly out of reach. "Don't push yourself too hard," Gregory advised, noticing her furrowed brow. "We'll have time to figure this out." They traveled for days, always alert for signs of danger from either the werewolves or Seline. On the third night, as they cuddled around a small campfire, Marina voiced the fear that had been growing within her. "What if this ancient woman can't help me? What if I'm destined to lose control and hurt people, just like my mother did?" Gregory took her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "Your mother made her choices, Marina. You're not bound by them. Whatever we discover, we'll face it together." As dawn broke, they continued their journey into the mountains. By midday, they found themselves on a narrow path, a sheer drop on one side and a wall of rock on the other. Suddenly, a low growl echoed off the stone. A massive wolf, larger than any they'd seen before, blocked their path ahead. Behind them, two more appeared. "Scouts," Gregory whispered, his body tensing. "They've been following us." Marina's heart raced. She could feel her power surging in response to the threat, but she still couldn't control it. "What do we do?" Before Gregory could answer, a familiar voice rang out. "Did you really think you could escape so easily?" Seline stepped out from behind the wolves, her silver hair whipping in the mountain wind. "I warned you about weakness, Marina. Now you'll see the true strength of our bloodline." With a gesture from Seline, the wolves attacked. Gregory shifted into his wolf form, meeting them head-on in a fury of claws and fangs. Marina desperately tried to summon her power, but in her panic, it slipped away like water through her fingers. As one of the wolves lunged for her throat, Marina stumbled backwards, right over the edge of the cliff. She screamed, falling through the air, certain her journey was about to end. Suddenly, everything slowed. The world around Marina seemed to shimmer and blur. She felt weightless, suspended between earth and sky. A soft voice, ancient and wise, whispered in her mind, "Child of two worlds, your path lies between, neither fully human nor fully other. Find balance, and you will find your strength." Marina blinked, and the world snapped back into focus. She was hovering inches above the ground, surrounded by a soft golden light. Above, she could hear the sounds of battle still raging. With newfound determination, Marina willed herself upward. She rose over the cliff edge to find Gregory bloodied but still fighting, while Seline prepared to strike a killing blow. "No!" Marina shouted, and a wave of energy pulsed from her, knocking everyone off their feet. Seline stared at her in shock. "How did you—" But Marina wasn't finished. Drawing on the strange calm she'd felt during her fall, she reached out with her mind. The very mountains seemed to respond, roots and vines bursting from the rock to entangle the wolves and Seline. "This ends now," Marina said, her voice resonating with power. "We don't have to be enemies. There's another way." Seline struggled against her bonds, fury and fear warring in her eyes. "You don't understand the forces you're dealing with, girl. This power isn't meant for peace." Then perhaps, came a new voice, deep and melodious, "it is time for someone to show you otherwise." All eyes turned to see an elderly woman standing further up the path, leaning on a crooked staff. Despite her apparent age, She radiated with power. The ancient woman they sought had found them instead. The ancient woman's arrival brought an eerie calm to the mountain path. Marina and Gregory exchanged wary glances as she approached, her staff tapping rhythmically against the stone. "I've been waiting for you, child of two worlds," the old woman said, her eyes fixed on Marina. "Come, there is much to discuss." Reluctantly, Marina and Gregory followed her to a hidden cave nearby. The interior was filled with strange artifacts and glowing crystals. As the woman began to explain Marina's heritage and the power within her, the couple listened intently. However, as night fell and the old woman thought they were asleep, Marina awoke to the sound of chanting. Peering through the darkness, she saw the ancient woman standing over a bubbling cauldron, muttering dark incantations. "Power beyond measure, ripe for the taking. Strip it from the girl, make it mine, so I can rule as the true queen." Horror flooded through Marina as she realized the woman's true intentions. She shook Gregory awake, whispering urgently, "We have to leave, now." They crept silently towards the cave entrance, but a floorboard creaked beneath Gregory's foot. The old woman whirled around, her eyes flashing with malice. "Foolish children!" she shrieked. "You cannot escape your destiny!" Marina felt her power surge within her, responding to the threat. Without thinking, she thrust out her hands, and a blast of golden energy erupted from her palms. The cave entrance collapsed, blocking the old woman's path as Marina and Gregory fled into the night. They ran blindly through the darkness, the woman's enraged groans echoing behind them. Marina's mind raced. Everything she thought she knew about her power, her heritage, had been a lie. As they paused to catch their breath in a dense thicket, Gregory turned to Marina, his eyes full of concern and determination. "What do we do now?" Marina and Gregory found refuge deep in the heart of an ancient forest, far from the prying eyes of both their clans and the treacherous old woman. In the quiet solitude of the woods, their bond deepened, blossoming into a passionate love that defied the long-standing enmity between their peoples. Months passed in peacefully. Marina's belly swelled with new life, a testament to their union. The couple spent their days preparing for their child's arrival, gathering herbs and crafting a cozy nest in a hollow tree. On a warm night, their son was born amidst a chorus of nightbirds and the gentle rustling of leaves. As they gazed upon their newborn's face, a perfect blend of both their features, Marina and Gregory felt a surge of hope for the future. Perhaps their love could bridge the difference between their clans, ushering in an era of peace and understanding. But fate had other plans. One morning, as fog still occupied the forest, the air was rent with howls and shouts. Both clans had finally tracked them down, converging on their sanctuary from opposite directions. Before Marina and Gregory could react, they were surrounded. The werewolf Alpha, Gregory's father, snarled in disgust at the sight of the baby. "Abomination!" he spat. Meanwhile, the matriarch of Marina's shape-shifting clan hissed, "You have betrayed your heritage, child." In the chaos that followed, Marina and Gregory were forcibly separated. Marina screamed as she was dragged away by her clanswomen, reaching desperately for Gregory and their child. Gregory fought like a demon, but was ultimately subdued by his fellow werewolves. The baby's cries pierced the air. A necromancer, versed in the arcane arts of destiny, stepped forward to claim the child. "The fates of both clans now rest with this one," the necromancer intoned. "Its power must be determined." Months passed. Marina sat upon the crystal throne of her ancestors, draped in the finery of her position as queen of the shapeshifters. But her heart was hollow. Every night, she dreamed of Gregory's warm embrace and their child's laughter. In the werewolf stronghold, Gregory wore the mantle of Alpha King with reluctance. He went through the motions of leadership, but his thoughts constantly strayed to Marina and their stolen child. Both Marina and Gregory, unknown to each other, began to plan their escape. They separately vowed to abandon their royal duties, find each other, and reclaim their child from the necromancer's clutches. The thrones that had once seemed like birthrights didn't matter to them anymore. Marina and Gregory both started making plans to run away. They didn't know the other was planning too. They both wanted to stop being king and queen, find each other, and get their baby back from the necromancer. As the days came closer, Marina and Gregory got ready to run away. The longest night of the year was coming soon. They both picked this night to escape, but they didn't know they picked the same night. On the night of their escape, both Marina and Gregory dressed in dark clothes. They packed small bags with food and warm clothes. They waited until everyone was asleep. Marina used her magic to turn into a small mouse. She sneaked past the guards and out of the shapeshifter castle. Gregory turned into a wolf and ran quietly through the forest, away from the werewolf den. They both headed towards the place where the necromancer lived. It was a tall tower in the middle of a dark forest. They didn't know it, but they were both going to the same place. As they got closer to the tower, they started to feel their magic getting stronger. The baby was close. They both ran faster, excited to see their child again. At the same time, Marina and Gregory reached the tower. They saw each other and were so happy. They hugged and kissed, forgetting for a moment about all their troubles. But then they remembered their baby. They looked up at the tall tower and knew they had to work together to get inside and find their child. What they didn't know was that the necromancer was waiting for them. He had seen in his magic ball that they were coming. He had a plan, but it wasn't what Marina and Gregory expected. At the top of the stairs, they found a big room. It was full of strange things like old books, shiny rocks, and funny-looking tools. In the middle of the room was a crib. Marina and Gregory ran to the crib. Their baby was there, sleeping peacefully. They were so happy to see him. But just as they were about to pick up their baby, they heard a voice. "I've been waiting for you," said the necromancer, stepping out of the shadows. Marina and Gregory turned around, ready to fight. But the necromancer didn't look angry. He looked sad. "Your baby is very special," the nomancer said. "He has magic from both of your families. He could bring peace between werewolves and shapeshifters." Marina and Gregory were surprised. They hadn't thought about that. "But," the nomancer continued, "your families are too angry right now. They won't listen. That's why I took the baby. I wanted to keep him safe until everyone was ready to listen." Marina and Gregory looked at each other. They didn't know what to do. "We can help," Marina said after a while. "We can talk to our families. We can show them that love is more important than old fights." Gregory nodded. "We'll do it together," he said. The nomancer smiled. "That's what I was hoping you'd say," he said. "Now let's all go down and have some tea. We have a lot to talk about." As they followed the nomancer down the stairs, carrying their baby, Marina and Gregory felt hopeful. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to try and bring peace to their families. They had a long road ahead, but they would face it together, as a family. As they entered a cozy room filled with flickering candles, the nomancer gestured for them to sit. "Your journey is far from over," he said, pouring steaming tea into mismatched cups. "Both clans are searching for you as we speak." Gregory's eyes widened. "We can't go back," he said firmly. "They'll take our son away again." The necromancer nodded slowly. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you could change their minds." Marina leaned forward, her voice urgent. "How? They hate each other. They think our love is wrong." The old man's eyes twinkled. "Ah, but love is the most powerful magic of all. Your son is proof of that." Just then, they heard a commotion outside. Angry voices and howls filled the air. "They're here," Gregory whispered, fear etching his face. The necromancer stood. "It's time to face your destiny. Remember, your love is your strength." With trembling hands, Marina and Gregory opened the door. Outside, both clans stood facing each other, weapons drawn and teeth bared. "Stop!" Marina cried out, stepping between them with the baby in her arms. "Look at what your hatred has created, a child of both worlds, innocent and pure." Gregory joined her, his voice strong. "We are not enemies. We are family, all of us." For a long moment, silence hung in the air. Then, slowly, weapons lowered. Marina's Aunt Seline stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the baby. "Let me see my grandchild," she said softly. As she held the infant, her face softened. "He has your eyes, Marina, and Gregory's smile." Gregory's father approached cautiously. "He's beautiful," he admitted grudgingly. The baby gurgled happily, reaching out to touch both of them. In that moment, something changed. The air seemed to shimmer with possibility. Perhaps, Gregory's father said slowly, we have been foolish. Our hatred has blinded us to what truly matters. Marina's mother nodded. Our children have shown us a better way, a way of love and acceptance. Over the next few months, change came slowly but surely. The clans began to mingle, sharing knowledge and traditions. There were still arguments and misunderstandings, but there was also laughter and friendship. As the next season bloomed, a grand ceremony was held. Marina and Gregory stood before both clans, renewing their vows and officially uniting their people. The necromancer watched from the shadows, a satisfied smile on his face. His work was done. Years passed. The forest that had once divided the clans became a place of gathering and celebration. Children of both shapeshifters and werewolves played together, their laughter echoing through the trees. Marina and Gregory's son grew into a strong young man called Elias, with white flowing hair and sparkling green eyes, embodying the best of both worlds. He became a symbol of hope and unity for all. On a warm evening, much like the night their son was born, Marina and Gregory sat on a hill overlooking their now peaceful realm. Maria's belly carrying another life as Gregory tapped smoothing circles around it. Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this? Gregory asked, squeezing Marina's hand. She smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. No, but I'm glad we never gave up. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the land, they knew that their love had indeed changed the world. The ancient feud was now just a distant memory, replaced by a future bright with promise. And so, in the heart of the forest where their journey began, Marina and Gregory found not just their own happiness, but a lasting peace for all their people. Their tale would be told for generations to come, a story of love conquering hate, of unity overcoming division, and of the extraordinary power of following one's heart. The end.